y'all, Dixie here. Today I want to talk to you about what I listen to while I'm on trail.
I'm just gonna shake it, shake it off, shake it off.
I know some people can't possibly imagine ruining the sounds of nature with, synthetic noise in your ears. But honestly, if you think back to even like Paleolithic times, people spent a lot of time and energy trying to create instruments and music. So the idea of music, in our most basic setting is actually pretty normal. I've read several articles that outline studies saying that, certain music can release adrenaline or dopamine in your brain. So while I don't know the science behind all of that, and I can't tell you specifically why, I have experienced, music affecting my hiking at certain points. Some examples are like on uphills, I might use more upbeat music like, I don't know, Roar by Katy Perry. Yeah, I know it's kind of cheesy, but that song actually does get me fired up for uphills, or, when I've got like a strenuous section or maybe the last few miles that I need to knock out before camp, and I'm just like trying to, get going. So that is one example that, kind of gives me like a little boost of energy. Or maybe another example is like Weezer, Pork and Beans. So it's like, yeah, maybe I should be, working a 9 to 5 in a cubicle according to some people, but instead I'm out here like doing the things that I want to do. But then there are times where, for example, the Sierra Nevada, I was already stressed out to the max almost every day because going through all these raging rivers and, different sources. Now, I wasn't listening to music as I was crossing the river, but like before, leading up to something that I know was going to be dangerous, and then after it to like calm down. I didn't need, my adrenaline boosted. I needed to like calm down a little bit. So in those stressful times, I might listen to anything like Ray LaMontagne or Imagine, by John Lennon, just to look at the beauty of the snow around me and just like, calm down and kind of take it all in and try to focus more on the beauty surrounding me than the stress that I was experiencing. So another time that I can remember that music actually had a negative effect on me was on Mather Pass. Butters was listening to the Tron Legacy soundtrack, and I don't know, I've never seen it, but it was like this epic music, and for him, I guess he wasn't freaking out as bad as I was, but we're up on this pass. It's like extremely dangerous. If you fall down, it's like pretty much sure death, and I'm up scrambling on these rocks and scree that are like sliding, and I ended up at one point being on rock with my micro spikes, and I was sliding, and I had to yell out to Butters, and like he had to grab my hand, and I had to jump because like that moment, I felt like I was about to fall. So anyway, meanwhile, this like epic music is playing, just like impending doom in my ears, and it was stressing me out on top of already being, in that situation. But for him, maybe he's more adrenaline junkie and was enjoying, the epic music with this epic moment. So, music really does affect people in different ways. So maybe sometimes I'm not necessarily needing like a boost of energy, and I'm not needing to like calm down a little bit, but I'm just like wanting to get in that, hiking zone, and I'm in my stride and I'm just trucking along. And at times like those, I like Alt J or Pretty Lights, and this is music that other people have introduced me to along the way. And for a while in the Sierra Nevada with the guys I was hiking with, Butters, Rooster, Mark, and Dan, we kept a list going. So if anybody was singing a song out loud, any given moment you might bust out in song. If somebody else picked up that song and was singing it later, then it went on the list. And so we said that it would be like the soundtrack of our through hike, and at least for me it was like the soundtrack of the Sierra Nevada and the time that I spent with them. I'll tell you one thing that would definitely make that list for me and Perk would be Disney songs. I don't know why, but Disney songs come to us. So all in all, as far as music goes, I really listen to a wide variety, anything from like Hank Williams Sr. to Fleetwood Mac to Led Zeppelin, new music. And what I like to do before I go on a through hike is I tell my family, I've got siblings that are down to the teenage years. So I tell my family to compile me a list of songs, and then sometimes I'll throw out, a status on Facebook or something and say, hey, does anyone have any music that they think would be like good to hike to? So whether it's something upbeat to help me up hills, or something relaxing, just a wide variety. So anyway, the list is compiled, and my little sister Montana throws it all on my phone for me. So a lot of times it's a surprise, as I'm hiking along and I've got my phone on shuffle, it'll just throw something out and I'm like, oh wow, I've never heard this, or how funny, it's like a inside joke maybe. I try to figure out like who suggested that song get put on there. And it's so awesome, at the end of a through hike, you can look back and listen to some of the songs that you've gathered along the way and go, oh yeah, I remember why I downloaded that song, or I remember when so-and-so introduced me to this song, and it's just something that, you'll carry with you forever. And one of the other songs that I really enjoyed listening to while on the Appalachian Trail and on the PCT was We Didn't Start the Fire. And the reason that I decided to listen to it so much is because I wanted to memorize all of the lyrics. And so I'm like on the 4th verse now. Still don't have it all the way, but maybe by the time I finish my Triple Crown on the CDT, I will have all the words down for We Didn't Start the Fire. And actually, I will. I'm going to make sure that happens. And also, I decided that I wanted to learn like the history of it, so all these lyrics mean something in history, and do you know what all of them mean? Like, I don't. So I decided in town to like kind of start reviewing some of these lyrics and learning like what does this actually mean. So when I decided to memorize that song, I realized I'm like, hey, maybe I want to learn something out here, rather than just walk and let my mind wander aimlessly, which is nice sometimes, but sometimes you want to quiet your mind and put something else in there, so you don't have to think so much. Because I like to learn while I'm hiking, I've found one avenue to do so is through podcasts. And if you have an interest, I don't care what it is, they have a podcast for it. The first podcast I ever started listening to is called The Survival Podcast by a guy named Jack Spirko, and honestly, it pretty much changed my life. He just very much encourages bringing personal liberty into your life and, being more self-sufficient and just taking care of yourself and, kind of not falling into what society expects of you, but just being happy in your life. And what's not to like about that, right? And actually, the Survival Podcast is where I learned about microgreens to start with, and is why in between the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Crest Trail, I started growing and selling microgreens locally. So they have podcasts on literally anything, like I said, self-sufficiency, mead making, cryptocurrency, gardening, probably underwater basket weaving if that's what you're into. In fact, there's even a podcast that covers like through hiking, and if you haven't heard of it yet, Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail by Steve Adams. He's interviewed me before, and if you're into backpacking, you would probably definitely enjoy that podcast. And if you aren't familiar with podcasts, I'm sure you can just like Google, how to get podcasts on my phone, and it'll walk you through step by step. And that way, you got something to listen to and something to entertain you and something to learn about, especially on those days that you're just like, oh, like this is, boring, or I'm just struggling with caring about hiking today, and it really helps the miles go by. In addition to podcasts, I really enjoy listening to audiobooks. I didn't start listening to audiobooks until, I don't know, probably over halfway through the Appalachian Trail. But again, you can listen to something that's for pure pleasure, like fantasy books, or you can listen to historical things if you want to learn. Some of the books I've listened to have been like Killing Kennedy, Killing Lincoln, learning about the presidents and what led up to their assassinations. I've also listened to An American Sickness, and for just like pure fiction, I listened to The Oldest Soul and the Lord of the Rings trilogy while I was actually hiking through the Sierra Nevada, so that was kind of cool. And two of the avenues I've used to listen to audiobooks is Overdrive, which is free if you have a library card at your local library. The book selection is going to be a little more limited, and you have to actually check it out because I guess they have like a license for one audiobook. You might be on a waiting list or something like that, just like you would be for a normal book at the library. But again, it's free. And then there's Audible. So Audible's not free. I think I pay like $14.95 per month for a subscription, and that gives you one audiobook credit. The audiobooks a lot of times are more than that, so you're actually saving money. And I think there might be a way that it could be even cheaper if you buy like so many credits or whatever. They might cut off a little bit on the cost. I haven't looked into that a whole lot. I just went with the $14.95 subscription, which gave me 1 credit a month. And supplementing that with the free Overdrive app worked out just fine. Another thing that I've been interested in figuring out how to do for the CDT is learning another language. I'm sure there's got to be some kind of app that focuses more on, hearing it. I had the Duolingo app, but you kind of have to interact and have like a lesson. So I'd really like to have like just something that you listen to predominantly So if y'all have any suggestions with that, let me know. I do want to mention one thing though. If you're going to listen to music, or anything in headphones or out loud, if you're going to listen in headphones or earbuds, make sure that you leave one out, because you want to be able to hear the rattlesnake that rattles at you, and you want to be able to hear, the bears scurrying around you, so you need to be still aware of your surroundings. There was a guy on the PCT that I followed for a ways, and he couldn't even hear me behind him because he was jamming out in his earbuds. And I mean, I could have been, a stalker, I could have been a bear, anything. And then I learned that the hard way myself, not to make fun of somebody else, on the Appalachian Trail. I had both earbuds in, and I was just trucking along, looking down at my feet, and about ran into a baby cub on the trail. So just, be aware of your surroundings, even if you're listening to music or something else in your earbuds. And a note about listening to things out loud. A lot of times folks will carry little speakers, to play podcasts or, music out loud, especially groups. So just be considerate of those around you. If you see somebody approaching you, turn it down or off. Or if you're, you keep leapfrogging with somebody and you're like hiking near them, and, you don't know them and you don't know that they're okay with your music, either ask them or just, be considerate and cut it off for a little while. And certainly, unless other folks are okay with it, don't jam out music on speakers at shelters. Like, that's just rude. Some people are out there for like a getaway and they want to enjoy the shelter without you infringing upon their ears. So that's just kind of an idea of, what I listen to. I might do a blog post soon that kind of lays out maybe like my top listened to tracks, in case anyone's interested and thinks that, maybe they would enjoy the same stuff. If y'all have any suggestions of other things to listen to, or, certain podcasts or songs that have been enjoyable to you on trail, please feel free to comment that below. Or if you have any ideas on like how to save money with these audiobooks, we can all help each other out by sharing some of these ideas. If you like the work that I do here and you would like to continue to see these informational videos, then please, while you are doing your holiday shopping this season, go to dixieaz.com, and that will lead you to Amazon, so you can shop through my Amazon affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and it helps support these videos and the work that I'm doing. And that's it for today. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and we will see y'all next time.